This is the eHealth Radio Network, your source for health advice on demand. And now your host, Eric Michaels.
Thanks for joining us once again here on the eHealth Radio Network. This is your host, Eric Michaels. eHealth Radio gives you the most current health information, news, and advice featuring some of the leading innovators in healthcare and wellness who are changing healthcare as we know it. For more eHealth Radio reports, we invite you to visit our main radio channel site at eHealthRadioNetwork.com. Today we're speaking with Mr. Garrett Salpeter, founder and CEO of the NeuFit Method, a teachable care pathway around the Neubie device that supports safe, consistent, and optimal use of electrical stimulation. And Mr. Salpeter, thanks for joining us here today on eHealth Radio.
Thank you, Eric. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir. The pleasure is ours, and looking forward to learning a few things from you today. So if you would, give our listeners a brief definition of the nervous system and how it works.
Awesome. I like starting there, too, because it really is the foundation of everything. The nervous system, we would include the brain, spinal cord, all the nerves that go out to the body. And it's so important because it is the control system of everything. The nervous system controls our muscles and how we move. It controls whether we experience pain. It controls the function of our organs. So we're thinking about heart rate, blood pressure, digestion, waste elimination, reproductive function, hormone releases. It controls how we think and process the world and emotional affect. I mean, just controls so many things. And one of the biggest kind of breakthroughs that we've experienced is that focusing on the neurological response to injury and trauma is a different approach. You know, traditional physical therapy and rehabilitation normally focuses on the tissues, the tendons, ligaments, bones, muscles. And we've found that by focusing on the nervous system, on how the brain and nervous system guard and protect around an injured area, by working to reset and restore function from that perspective, working more on the software than the hardware, we've seen that we can really accelerate recovery and optimize the overall healing and recovery process to lead to better outcomes for people recovering from a wide range of injuries, surgeries, chronic pain, all sorts of stuff.
I certainly appreciate your insight and feedback there. That is most helpful and obviously a good place to kick things off here today. Now, when might the nervous system impede recovery? Talk to us about that.
So it is a major part of the response to injury and trauma. So it's really interesting that a lot of times after someone's injured, think of someone who bends down, is generally pretty sedentary, bends down and picks up a pen in the office one day and all of a sudden, quote unquote, throws out their back. They try to get up, but they get locked and stuck and they have these spasms and a ton of pain. And it's really interesting because oftentimes there actually isn't significant damage in the spine. Sometimes there can be, but more often there was a minor insult and it's actually a minor irritation of a nerve exiting the spinal cord, for example. And then what really causes the pain and the problem is the neurological response. It's the body, the nervous system perceives that minor irritation and it overreacts. It creates these massive spasms. It tries to lock down the area. It also creates the output signal of pain, and pain is a signal created by the brain in order to stimulate us to do something, right, or not do something, not load a certain area, do something else, change our behavior. And so a lot of times that response is actually what causes pain, what causes injuries, and sometimes it can be excessive or out of line with the actual amount of damage. Sometimes it can be an overreaction because our brain is really oriented towards survival and protection, and it can tend to overreact in that mode of wanting to protect us and limit us. And actually, our brains want us to do less, not to do more. And so they really limit us in many ways.
Of course, you're the founder and CEO of the NeuFit Method. What is the NeuFit Method, and how did you come up with this?
So the NeuFit Method is our way of addressing the nervous system and resetting these neurological responses to injury and trauma. And, in this example of the individual who threw their back out, what we would do with that person is do a scanning process. So we would use part of the NeuFit Method is the Neubie device. It's an acronym for neurobioelectric. So it's a unique direct current signal that allows us to to map the nervous system, to map the body and identify where in the nervous system any of these problems or misfirings or hypersensitivities, where any of these things are. So with this patient, for example, we could scan around on their body and identify exactly where those spasms and those reactions are occurring, and then we can stimulate them, typically combined with different movements or exercises or manual techniques, and help calm down, help reset those spasms. And we've seen several cases where someone will come in literally hobbling in because of this. They threw their back out or other immediate acute injury, and then by going through that process, help them reset that, and their pain can reduce 20%, 40%, 80%, sometimes even in just that first session by resetting that. So the NeuFit method is our technique for our series of techniques and strategies for helping to optimize nervous system function in order to improve healing and recovery from injury, surgery, pain, also to help people activate their muscles safely and significantly to get more out of their workouts, so there can be fitness and performance applications all along that continuum. And then, to your question about how I got started on it, it was actually a really, really profound story for me, because it was, in retrospect, one of these examples of turning adversity into opportunity. At the time, I was really frustrated. I was a college ice hockey player my last year in college, and I had some torn ligaments in my wrist. I was supposed to have surgery and be out for a few months, missed the last few months of the season, and I was really, feeling down in the dumps. And very fortunately, I met a functional neurologist, a guy who showed me, one, the importance of managing this neurological response to injury and trauma, about, for example, getting the muscles working properly so they could support that injured area while it healed, and reducing the protective tension so it wasn't cutting off blood flow, for example. So more blood could get in there. We could open the floodgates for healing to happen. The body could bring the nutrients and raw materials and resources there. And then I also saw firsthand the beneficial effects of direct current, and how and I saw how that direct current helped stimulate my ligaments to heal on their own. And going through that, it just created within me a calling to share this work with as many people as I could. And that ended up launching me, now that we're talking about this now, that was, 15 plus years ago. So it kind of launched me on this journey, which has, of course, taken many, many twists and turns along the way. But that was really the foundation of this, this method and the work that we're doing now.
Well, it certainly makes a lot of sense, and when you had to go through such a physical challenge like that, that would certainly instigate and motivate you and inspire you to start something like this. I think it's fantastic. Today we're speaking with Garrett Salpeter, the founder and CEO of the NeuFit Method, a teachable care pathway around the Neubie device that supports safe, consistent, and optimal use of electrical stimulation. And he's joined us here today on eHealth Radio's Health News and Technology channels, a part of the eHealth Radio Network. Now let's touch base a little bit on the technology. What is Neubie technology?
So the Neubie is a direct current stimulation device that we use to speak to the nervous system, to create changes in how the nervous system works, how it functions. I'm so glad we started with that background on what the nervous system is and why it's important, because most electrical modalities, so if people are familiar with TENS units or Russian stim, interferential, the types of electrical devices where your physical therapist or chiropractor or someone else puts pads on you and causes your muscles to twitch around, those, virtually all of those are alternating current. And there is some benefit because they can create some movement, but when you turn them up to a high enough level to really make changes in the body, there's this major limitation where that alternating current, as that signal goes back and forth, it causes muscles to fight against each other, to stiffen. It's just the same as if you were driving your car, hitting the throttle and the brake pedal at the same time. You're wasting energy. You're setting the body up for additional wear and tear, possibly injury. And what we're able to do with this direct current is bypass a lot of that resistance, bypass a lot of those protective contractions, and speak more powerfully and more precisely to the nervous system. So we can therefore use it to do some of these things that we talked about earlier, to scan around on the body, to map the body and identify where any neurological dysfunctions, where there's any misfirings or any issues in those underlying signals that control muscles and movement and healing. And then we can use it to very precisely reprogram and optimize those neurological patterns. So it's part of the overall method. The technology has some of these unique effects on the nervous system and also on tissue healing. Direct current can help accelerate healing and regeneration of bone and muscle connective tissue. So the technology creates the foundation for being able to do a lot of these things because of its unique effects. And then through the methods and the work that we teach to other practitioners or what we share with patients, that really allows us to harness the power of that technology and create the best possible outcomes.
Certainly some good information right there. And of course, we're really pleased that you took a moment to join us here today to introduce this technology and the NeuFit Method. Tell us, how can listeners enhance recovery from physical trauma? Get into some of the details there. I'm sure that would be most helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So if anyone listening to this has had any recent injuries or you had something years ago and you still feel like it's a little tweaky or achy or something like that, even months or years after an injury, sometimes those same compensatory neurological issues, those issues in how your nervous system is controlling the muscles around that area, those can linger long after the tissue is healed or the injury has supposedly resolved. So if anyone listening is in that boat, I would encourage you, and this sounds interesting, I'd encourage you to go to our website, go to neufit.com, neufit.com, and then there's a link for patients and there's a directory. So you can find certified practitioners who are offering these services around the country and in some other countries too outside of the U.S. And, best thing is usually to try it out with a physical therapist or a chiropractor or other practitioner. And then if anyone's listening, there's also applications for more traumatic injuries like traumatic brain injury or spinal cord injury or stroke, or patients who have MS and have lost function. There can be ways to tap into the nervous system to help restore some function. So there's definitely applications there. And if anyone goes to the website and can't find a practitioner, there may be ways that we could work together remotely as well. So please reach out to us there through the website as well.
Phenomenal it is, and we really appreciate you're willing to go the extra mile. That's certainly bonus for sure. Again, folks, it is NeuFit.com. Mr. Salpeter, all the best, and hopefully we can have you back on in the future right here on eHealth Radio. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Eric. It's been a pleasure.
Anytime. We've been speaking with Mr. Garrett Salpeter, the founder and CEO of the NeuFit Method, a teachable care pathway around the Neubie device that supports safe, consistent, and optimal use of electrical stimulation. And for all the details, simply visit NeuFit.com. And again, this has been your host, Eric Michaels, and we do thank you for your continued support of the eHealth Radio Network. Join us again soon for another episode that will help further expand your knowledge on those things that are important to your health and wellness. For more eHealth Radio reports, we invite you to visit our main radio channel site at eHealthRadioNetwork.com. And as always, we do thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in to the eHealth Radio Network. For more information or to subscribe to this podcast, visit eHealthRadioNetwork.com.